What I would like for all of you to know as I start off the program this evening is that you have always been the reason behind why I do what I do. Because I've seen so much passion coming from your favorite characters whom you've loved so much. I've obviously seen and taken away an appreciation for how you see heroes in many of your favorites. Dove Cameron, Kylie Cantrell, Ruby Rose Turner, Malia Baker. Those are some of the most cherished personalities who have brought some of the most beloved characters to life for really the better part of over a decade. And what an incredible decade it's been. A decade that I could have only ever had the opportunity to be a part of, if never for all of you. You guys are truly a niche that came together and gave me the opportunity to represent what became a soundtrack for me. And I had the chance to sit behind a microphone that I never really always had. I invested so much time and money behind this channel. It was truly unbelievable for how much I was made a believer out of Descendants and Zombies and how much further it could take me with my career because it allowed me to tell my story in a way that I never had a chance to tell my story 15 years ago because I had fallen in and out of a lot of niches that were never really as supportive as what this niche became of me. And for that sole reason, I would just like to say thank you so much to all of you for all the love and support that you've shown this YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Because I know that I would have never had the opportunity to be here and sit here with nearly 5,000 people having subscribed to this YouTube channel, which is something I take very seriously and probably far more seriously than anybody who has ever uploaded a video pertaining to this content that you guys have loved and known for really forever. You guys have always held a special place in your heart for the people and the content that you've known and loved for really a long time. And that really speaks volumes to me, how one niche can come together and believe in a story so much, an individual so much, that they will forever support them. And we've come upon so many milestones. We've seen Descendants secure the number one position on Disney Plus really for forever and never been surpassed. And I got to tell you guys, I truly believe that it will never be surpassed, no matter how much of an argument High School Musical will forever present for being the number one and most revered and most recognized franchise in Disney Channel's history. We never saw what is happening for Descendants and Zombies for High School Musical. Yes, we may have seen on-stage performances and concert experiences, but never like this. Not with 43 arenas having been sold out last summer. You couldn't even get your hands on a ticket. You guys outsold the Super Bowl, you outsold WrestleMania, and why do you think you did that? You did that because you believed in Descendants and Zombies so much. I have never seen anything like this ever in my life, and I have my doubts that I ever will again. So that goes without saying, thank you so much. Thank you for being the reason behind why we do what we do as YouTubers, because I never imagined that in 2026, I would have went on to become everybody's favorite YouTuber and have probably the greatest chance of surpassing Mr. Beast with over 416.1 million subscribers, which is precisely what I need. And I know there's somebody out there saying, hey, Jonathan Clarke, man, that sounds like a lot of subscribers, 416 million. That's pretty much everybody in the world. Do you really think you can do that? Well, with the love and support of every fan of Descendants and Zombies, what I want to tell you guys is there's nothing that you can't do. Every dream that you may have ever had for yourself, that you set for yourself a long time ago, along with every goal or aspiration you may have ever had, can come true for you and can become that much more of a reality than you probably ever realized. And I know it happens because of all of you, because of your beautiful reviews, your beautiful, talented videos that you guys are always uploading about how you want to showcase your passions for Descendants and Zombies. If there was anything that I could tell you guys to offer you some inspiration, what I would love for you to do is keep on doing what you're doing and keep on following your passions, because your heart and your dedication that you've shown for this franchise truly speaks volumes. Maybe not for everybody, but truly speaks volumes for me, because I know that without you guys, I wouldn't be here. I'd pretty much just be talking to open air in a wide open space. But with you, I have an audience that I know that will forever and always be supportive of every theory, every prediction that I could have ever made, because we still have so many realms left to unlock and so many distant worlds to pay a visit to that could really offer an expansion to the story that we may have never had the chance to see over a decade ago, or may have ever thought that would have ever been possible. We've endured so much. We've seen our fair share of criticism. We've seen our fair share of critics who have kind of really jumped down our throats. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't tell you guys that there was always something I wanted to do about that. What we wanted to do about that, I may have never known, or what I was ever going to do about it, I may have never known at the time, that I promise you guys we would shout at every critic, and we would give the spotlight to the people who have obviously deserved it and made this story so special for really millions of people who have always taken something special away from this story because they may have had a favorite character or a favorite moment that really helped define them and really made them realize that, hey, Being a fan of Descendants of Zombies was the coolest feeling that I've ever experienced in my life, and I just want to experience this all over again. And that's why I've always said that one of the most beautiful things about Disney Plus is how it allows you to go back in time, to relive these moments with your friends who love Descendants of Zombies just as much as what you do, or even your family, because I know my fair share of families who sit down every night and watch Descendants over and over again. The next night follows, and they do the same thing over and over again. Pretty much people fall asleep every night watching Descendants of Zombies, and I seem to be the only guy on YouTube who ever realizes that. But along with that realization comes a level of appreciation to take away from each time that you tell this story, because each time you tell this story, you obviously also have a chance of telling the story differently. And you have a chance of making people far more believers in this story than ever before. Why do you guys think that I love Kylie Control so much and I felt so inspired by her work? The reason why I felt so inspired by her work ethic is because it was nothing short of tremendous. She really believed in the character Red. She had never had the chance to don the character Red ever before in her life, but upon auditioning, she pretty much was a shoe-in for this role because nobody could ever perform as highly at a level as what Kylie Control was ever able to do. For sure, Red was looked at as nothing more as an outcast and definitely a rebel because her opinion on Wonderland was far different from Mal's opinion, which made every character, which would go a long way in making every character in Descendants far different from the previous characters who may have made up any previous generation that we could have ever talked about. Because obviously, yes, Mal and Evie's relationship was far different from Red and Chloe's. I know that Red and Chloe's may have seen its fair share of criticism along the way because it was a very short-lived friendship. And now, obviously, yes, they've been made to feel very differently about each other because of some of the things that may have happened. But again, it has never really been any reflection on who they are as everyday individuals. Because if we were to really sit back and put things into perspective, if we give them more of a chance, I'm sure there's an explanation as to why they feel the way that they do. But again, I was never there. Millions of others were never there. So all we can really do is speculate on what may have happened. We obviously kind of can draw conclusions of our own as to what may have happened. But again, they are just formidable conclusions that people feel satisfied with getting to, a point of finality that people really feel satisfied with getting to. And I think this story is anything but over and really far from its conclusion because I've always loved and appreciated how Disney has often referred to conclusions as epic and really necessary. But I really think that no conclusion is ever necessary because if you were to actually pay attention to how fans feel, no fan has ever really been ready to let go of something special to their heart, something they may have held close to their heart for really for forever. And no fan ever wants to have the opportunity to say goodbye because they just want this story to continue and keep on moving forward. And as the writer and producer behind Descendants of Zombies, if I ever had that chance, I want you to know that I would do everything in my power to ensure that happened, along with your favorites having a legacy that they would leave behind. Because every single person in this world, I just want to say this, every single person, and I'm a firm believer and I've stood behind what I believe for a very long time. So in saying that, I am a firm believer in how everybody deserves the opportunity and an equal opportunity at that in saying this to become a legend. Now, how people become legend happens in very different ways because it's said that legends are stories that are almost too hard to believe and very difficult to believe for many people. But that's how you become a legend. Also with your cultural impact that you leave behind in your wake. And I know this more than anybody, probably better than anybody ever did because that was something I always wanted to be. And no matter how far out there that may seem to be for everybody who hears this, that's what I always wanted to be because what are you going to leave behind long after your time on this earth is through? The chance to become a legend and always be remembered. You know, there have been so many fans who have been remembered throughout Disney's illustrious history. Fans who have shown so much heart and dedication to a favorite character or a favorite moment from a movie they love so much, probably just a passion for a movie like Frozen or Tangled, even Phineas and Ferb. Because I know I have diehard fans of Phineas and Ferb who've often wondered what to do with the 104 days of summer vacation they may have had. So I've often thought to myself, would I have ever had a chance of going down as one of these fans or something greater as a Disney legend? Now I know it's based off somebody's contributions to Disney as a voiceover actor or actress or an actor or an actress who's contributed so much. And so many people in their wake have gone down in history for being Disney legends. Dwayne Johnson, Jodie Benson, Peggy O'Hare, the list goes on. And there are so many countless names really that I could go on mentioning throughout the progression of this program, but I'll spare you the pain of having to do that because if I were to run down through that list, I'd be here all night. And I really don't think there'd be anyone who'd have a problem with being here all night because we'd talk about Descendants and Zombies all night, kind of an all-nighter. We'd pull an all-nighter because there's so many people that deserve so much profound credit for how special of a franchise they really made this. One of those people are Rita Ora and Brandy. Rita Ora more especially because her portrayal of the Queen of Hearts was beautifully done. I remember Rita Ora when many of you were probably never even born. Her first single that really made it to the top of the Billboard chart, of course, was How We Do. That was a song that was released in the latter part of 2011, early 2012. That was the same year they were producing Nashville by Hayden Panettiere, who had the lead role in that series for wanting to be an aspiring country singer. And that shows you how far I can go back. That was when Hayden Panettiere was really coming into her own after being a former Disney star, kind of making that transition, really coming of age, wanting an opportunity, some of the many fond memories we've often had of her because she was in a lot of cheerleading movies and franchises like Bring It On and The Ice Princess for wanting to be a figure skater. We've seen so many people kind of fall into the same limelight as Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker long before they ever did. So, we think about all these generations and how they come together to truly create something special in the long run, for the long haul. And obviously, yes, the contributions of people like even Jessica Simpson and Hayden Panettiere really set us up for what we're experiencing now. So I think we can also get away with saying thank you to the stars of the past and any previous generation that we may have ever had a chance to experience or grow up from within because there was something really special to take away from what they offered. And also their contributions will never ever be forgotten. So I would love to have the same conversations about many of our favorites now who are a part of this generation, who have become engulfed in the spotlight, who just want to embrace the spotlight more than ever before. And I see nothing wrong with embracing the spotlight. We can say thank you to them. We can also say thank you to the previous generation. But I've always believed who we should be applauding are really all of you because from whatever generation you remember being a Disney fan from and because of, you've always contributed something so special. Even if you've just watched one Disney movie that always stood out as your favorite, that may have been Beauty and the Beast, that may have been The Fox and the Hound, which was a long forgotten about Disney movie that people never really talk about enough. Perhaps it's Lady and the Tramp or The Aristocats, which we just celebrated the anniversary of a couple of days ago, which was actually one of the catchiest Disney movies of all time. It was filmed in Paris, actually. It was inspired by a Paris-themed sketch, and it went on to become something so much more about a group of cats who just wanted to become magicians. So no matter what movie you felt inspired about, that's what makes you a Disney fan. And that's what separates you from every other Disney fan because no Disney fan truly feels the same. Today we are honoring so many legends who contributed their voices to some of the most legendary Disney princesses because of their stories and just how much of a contribution they made to the Disney company. People like Peggy O'Hare, people like Jodie Benson. There are so many that I could go on about. We also honored the original voice of one of the Princess and the Frog characters, Tiana, who was a beautiful princess in her own right today. Because back in 2011 at the D23 Expo of that year, we honored so many legendary voices who had contributed their voices to characters like Jasmine, Linda Larkin, Ariel, like Jodie Benson. I mean, I can go on for forever for just how beautiful their voices were and how outstanding of a performance they gave for just wanting to become a part of our world or discovering something so much more. And that's why I've kind of painted these vivid images in your mind of Red and Chloe going on a magic carpet ride or paying a visit to Atlantis under the sea. There's so much of an opportunity for these characters to see so many more expansions. Wonderland is just one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it could be Neverland. Another way of looking at it could be Olympus. Another way of looking at it could be Arendelle. Another way of looking at it could be Corona. Because as we all know, there are 15 core kingdoms and only really two of them have been explored. And if you want to get technical, the French community that Cinderella grew up from within hasn't even been paid a visit to. So we haven't even really explored where Cinderella came from or really even heard much of her story and much less more of her daughter's story because I think what Brendan Tremblay has his heart set on is really seeing more of Chloe and of course Max's story being expanded and really being offered to people. And I would be kind of really down for that because when we think about the Descendants plot line, most of the story has revolved around Red, who eventually went on to achieve something so much more because she's an HK now, making that transition from a VK, which is a very different way and a very different image for us to look at in the way of her being what is referred to now as a perfect princess. And what's interesting about the perfect princess gimmick is there are people who are posting so many covers wanting to be that perfect princess who have that same dream. And I think that's kind of really cool how much of an inspiration Descendants continues to be really through the ages, because no matter how old or who you are or where you come from, what your story may be, you just want to be included as a part of this story. And I see nothing wrong with that. So along with that comes a great deal of encouragement that we can always take away something special from. And I've just really loved being here to experience all of this for really its true worth, because there's really so much to value about a story and just how legendary it really has a chance of becoming. And I think that by the time we get to Descendants 6, we're going to have a lot to talk about here, because we're going to come out on the other side feeling stronger than ever before. We're obviously going to be given something so much more to take away from this story every single time that we may ever have the chance to talk about it, because no matter who we are, we either have a favorite character, a favorite moment, something special that really helps define us for being the fans of Descendants of Zombies we become. And along the way, we reference a lot of things that happens over at thisdayindisneyhistory.com, because there are so many things that have happened in the over 100 plus years of Disney's history. I think it's somewhere around 123 years that Disney has been a part of our lives. And in those 123 years over the past century, we've taken away so many incredible moments that really have helped define us and shape us into the Disney fandom and the incredible people that we would go on to become. So with that having been said, as we close out this conversation tonight, I've never wanted you to give up on any hope or dream that you may have ever had for this franchise. I know that things like Descendants 6 and Zombies 5 feel like forever away, because we have just about 1 year to go before Zombies 5 happens and things begin to really take shape for Malachi Burton and Freya Sky. And now people are kind of speculating on a continuation of the story of Camp Rock 3 also to be thrown in and to become a part of this conversation, because they formed a group. What happened to that group, leaving so much more of a story yet to be explored in what could be Camp Rock 4. Now, I know that's a way away, and it's just a random thought, but it's really a nice thought to leave you with when you think about a dream that you may have that you felt inspired more about than ever before because of what you saw in Camp Rock 3 just the other evening. And I know this to be true more than I ever had, because really more believers have been made out of everybody because of what both Descendants Zombies and now Camp Rock have really offered us. As now we shift our focus from what once was to the Worlds Collide Tour kicking off on September 25th. And the very next night, Kylie Control's first ever headline tour will happen. And there's so much to take away from that as well, and so much of a conversation yet to be had. Having said this, on this very beautiful evening, thank you so much for always having the time to have appreciated everything that may revolve around the worlds of both Descendant Zombies and now Camp Rock 3. And thank you so much for always having the time to have watched and appreciated all of these videos. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons as you leave here tonight. And always remember that there's always something special on that horizon, regardless of what that may or may not be. There is always something special forthcoming. And we all have a chance of being a part of that something special, and always remembering it and truly never forgetting what brought us to that moment that made us the biggest fans of Descendants of Zombies in this universe. Because I've often referred to this world as something much bigger than a world, if never a universe or a galaxy. And that's what's made this experience so life-changing for a guy such as myself, who truly came from out of nowhere and never imagined he'd be the voice behind the number one podcast in the world, which is very different from other people's videos and content revolving around Descendants of Zombies, because I'm an analyst and I kind of take these stories deeper than ever before. But it's really something to really take away and really appreciate over time. And I like to believe that I've made more believers out of people as that time continues to elapse and leave us through that hourglass, because we can never seem to have enough time to really express our appreciation for the characters and the stories that have obviously held a very special place in our heart for quite some time. Having said this, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and always take away something special from these videos. Thank you so much from my heart to yours for having made this your favorite show on YouTube that so many people can't get enough of. They can't wait to watch. And thank you so much as always from my heart to yours for always having the time to have watched and appreciated really all of these videos.